they would ask, "You okay? How you doing today? How's the baby? Are you okay?" And I will always put on a fake smile. Everything's great. Everything's fine and stuff. And just this one particular day, I couldn't, you know. But sometimes you get to that point where you cannot keep up the facade. Um, it was bad. It it was bad. All hell broke loose. We were so excited about the baby and stuff like that, and everything else just fell apart. And so, um, I got even more depressed. And what I want you to know about being depressed and being pregnant is that everything you feel, everything you experience, your developing baby is absorbing that, is feeling that too. And I learned this too late. After my third pregnancy and my son came out the way he came out, his personality, his anger, his, the way he reacts to certain things. I learned that later, that what I'm feeling when I'm pregnant, what any mother is feeling when they are pregnant, affects the baby they're carrying, affects the developing fetus. So I was determined that this was going to be the happiest pregnancy. I know that the other three pregnancies were not, they were not happy pregnancies because of who I was dealing with at the time. And my first pregnancy, Faith came out very closed off, guarded. She can be very, very cutthroat at times. Very. And I know that is because when I was pregnant with her, I did a lot of mean things. Lots of mean things. I was very mean, very spiteful, very vindictive. I would get into physical altercations when I was pregnant with her. Like, she is better at handling her anger than I was. But because I talked to her and told her how to deal with it, because by that time that I recognized it, I was able to help her, navigate through that. But my son Jordan came out angry. He was just angry. He was angry, like a little ball of anger. He would get so angry at the drop of a hat, and he would sit and he would stare at you murderous. He was 2 years old. Um he was very disobedient, very prideful, hard head, like, and I'm like, dude, like what the heck? Like it was a class. Like he was 2 years old and he literally raised his fist at me. I told him to, I think I told him to come here and he wouldn't come to me. And he just looked at me like, who you talking to? And I'm just like, okay. We'll let this slide, right? And then I said, come here. And I grabbed him. He wrenched back and had his fist up at me like he was about. Let's just say he never did that again. So, yeah. So I had to deal with that. He had mad anger issues. Even today, even now, I have to sit and I have to talk to him about his anger. I have to talk to him about the things he says, and you know, because I was very angry. That second pregnancy, I was angry all the time, and just I was very, yeah, all the time. So third pregnancy, I didn't want to be bothered by anybody. I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to be touched. I didn't want you to breathe in my vicinity. Um, you basically were irritant and the world could blow up and I did not care, like as long as you were a part of that explosion. It was bad. It was really, really bad. And now my son is very contrary. He is he gets irritated very easily. He, and I mean very easily. It so basically my whole point is what you feel on the inside affects your unborn child. So when I got depressed, um when I when I got I tried to hold it in. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you have tubal a tubal ligation, something happens to your estrogen levels, your hormones, and all that stuff. Um, I had a bad reaction to a tubal ligation. The after effects and symptoms. I had very painful periods, like excruciating. I would end up in the hospital, painful periods, um, every month for 13 years. Uh, so I would get that, and but one thing that I was able to do was control my emotions. If I didn't want to cry, I didn't have to cry. I didn't need to cry. I was very hard. I was very just I was guarded. Very hard, very guarded, and I can control my emotions. But when all that stuff is flowing back through you, it's very hard to control your emotions, especially when you're pregnant and your hormones are raging. It's hard to control your emotions. So being emotional, having all these hormones running through my body, it was hard to get out of my depressive state. And yes, I am a Christian. Yes, I do believe in God, Jesus, and He's our healer and our waymaker. But even in those moments of sadness, it's it becomes, you hear the voices, and it becomes hard if you allow yourself to get so down deep into the darkness. It becomes hard to to not say trust, not believe, but it becomes hard to dig yourself out of it, especially if you're keeping it all to yourself. So Nobody knew what I was feeling. I mean, no one knew the thoughts I would be having, because every day I would laugh. Every day I would have a great time. My children would make me laugh every day. You guys have seen my children, so they would like joke every day. So I would be laughing every day, and the battery died. So anyway, like I was saying, I got depressed. It was not like I didn't believe that God could help us out. It was just that I had allowed myself to not live in faith, to not um, rely on that, rely on my faith at the time, because it was very dark. It was very grim, and I was very emotional, and it was hard. And I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody because nobody would understand. And that is the trap that we fall into when we think that we can't talk to anybody, that nobody would understand. And unfortunately, I fell in that trap, and it it started affecting everything. Um, all I would do was come home and go to sleep. I was very sick my first trimester, and this was the first trimester. It's like one of the most important trimesters in the baby's development, and I was always sick. I had a lot of morning sickness, afternoon sickness, pregnancy sickness, um, but I never threw up, but I was always sick. I was always tired, um, and on top of that, I was depressed. And one day I went to work. Thank God, I worked where I worked. I worked part time, part time at a daycare center, which is a part of our church. So my pastor is my boss, and they would ask me every time they would see me. Bishop would see me, Pastor Felicia would see me, and they would ask, "You okay? How you doing today? How's the baby? Are you okay?" And I will always put on a fake smile. Everything's great. Everything's fine and stuff. And just this one particular day, I couldn't, you know. But sometimes you get to that point where you cannot keep up the facade that everything is okay, that everything is fine, when you feel like you literally have no hope. And I my glimmer of hope was my children. Like, I would rely on them for my happiness. I would, like I said, I laughed every single day. I laughed every single day. I still laugh every single day. They're on their way home from school, and I'm sure there's gonna be some stories, some conversation they're gonna have that's gonna have me cracking up, because that's just they're like that. But when the nighttime came, when they were asleep, when it was just me and my thoughts and my pregnancy insomnia, who how, who could I have relied on then? Of course, God, but that was like the furthest thing from my mind. And even when I tried to pick up, I'm just being honest, when I tried to pick up that Bible, I just put it back down. I did. I don't know why. I just did. No, because I was in my flesh. Because I was letting my emotions, I was letting my emotions control me. I was. And we know the spirit, the flesh and the spirit are in conflict all the time, and the flesh doesn't want to feed the spirit. It doesn't. So in my flesh, I didn't want to hear it. I I didn't. I didn't want to. I don't know. I just didn't. Um and anyway, it was I made a decision. I was going to go and talk to my pastor. Um the morning the I went to work and everything was fine, but I could not hold back tears. Every time I thought about talking to her, I could not hold back tears. I could not hold the thought of talking to her, the thought of being vulnerable, the thought of letting somebody in, the thought of exposing, myself, and my perfect life is not so perfect. The thought of that brought me to tears. But I was already broken, and I was already at my wit's end, and I just couldn't anymore. So I went up there and I asked to speak to her. And I went in and I told her everything. Everything. Everything how I was feeling. What was going on. Everything. And 3 hours later, uh, 3 hours later, I left that meeting feeling so light, filled with so much hope, and able to see our new beginning for what it really was. Able to see what was happening for what it really was. And we know that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And this was something, this baby was something that we had been praying for 8 years. It was a promise. It was a blessing. And it was the one of the biggest blessings we had ever received. And of course, the enemy was not going to just sit back and let us enjoy this. So he had to attack what he could attack. He had to interrupt what he couldn't interrupt. And he did it with a vengeance. I'm like, really? Like, I've gone through some phases of bad attacks, but this was no. So then after that, I got a holy indignation inside of me. Like, okay, no. I refuse to allow this to transpire. I refuse to allow my life, my joy, my happiness, this blessing to not be felt to its fullest extent, to not be enjoyed to its fullest extent. I refused. So I finally, finally picked that Bible up, and everything that I needed to see, I saw. Every hope, every verse, everything, every promise that I needed to read in the dark. I saw it. I read it. It strengthened me. It gave me new hope. And everything started to get better. Everything started to get better. My situation, doors was being open in the situations we were going through. My marriage got better. My relationship with my children got better. Like, my relationship with other people got better. It was just it was just coming. It was just flowing, and it's still flowing to this day. And but the whole point is this, that we must keep in our minds what we feel, how we feel on the inside affects this unborn child, whether positive or negative. So we have to be conscious. We have to be conscious of how we feel. We have to be conscious of our own joy, our own happiness. I look to my children for my happiness, and it's not their job to make me happy. It's my job. It's my happiness. So I had to find something that made me happy, that made me joyful. I had to focus on that because I had to be intentional about my joy. I had to be intentional about my happiness, because it wasn't just about me. It was about this baby who didn't ask to be here. We asked for her. We asked for children, more children from this womb. We asked for that. So we have to intentionally protect it, because I was so, like I said, I've had issues with this pregnancy, and one of them was I was stressed. I had to go to the hospital because I started having contractions, because I allowed myself to get so stressed that I almost I could have miscarried this child, this gift, because I allowed the outside, I allowed my circumstances to get that much into my heart that it tried to it tried to take my promise. And I think that was when it no that is that's when I was like, no, I cannot do this. I need to talk to somebody. Don't get to that point, because I've seen and read about women who got stressed and had miscarriages at 5 and 6 months. That is devastating to hear. And I plead with you, if you are depressed while you are pregnant, please talk to somebody. Yes, there is somebody who understands what you're going through. It doesn't even have, if you're not spiritual, it doesn't have to be your pastor. Even if you're spiritual or not spiritual, speak to a counselor. There's hotlines you can call. There's somebody you can speak to. There's somebody that you can go to. If it's not a family member, if it's not a friend, you can call. There's phone numbers you can call. There's counselors you can call, and this stuff is free. This is free. You need to get the help you need. You need to talk to somebody, even if you just write it down. Write it down. Get it out of here. To get it out of here, you have to get it out of your system. You have to find hope, because it's not just your life that it's affecting. It's affecting this one. And so, if you are going through depression, I plead with you, please talk to somebody. Even if you're not spiritual, go to your local church and talk to a pastor, talk to someone there, even if you're not spiritual, because they're just like psychiatrists. They can't tell your business. They can't. They're bound by I don't know what it is, but they're bound that they cannot share your information with anybody else. So you can talk to them. You can there's chat groups on Facebook. There's 800 numbers that you can just call and talk to people. Suicide hotlines. Even if you're not thinking about committing suicide, because you definitely don't want to get to that point, and it's possible, and that's something I'm praying. Please, if you are depressed, either before, during, and after your pregnancy, talk to somebody. If you're not feeling well, if you are having these thoughts, please talk to somebody. It's not just your life that's in your hands. You don't know what this is being created for. Its purpose. It could be bigger than you can ever imagine. And You can't allow anything to mess that up. You are the mother, the first protector of this life. You have to stand guard. You have to guard this life, even if it's with your life, because you are the mother. Stand firm. I've decided to do this series of being pregnant after 35, and I know this can happen at any age. Depression during pregnancy, depression period, can happen at any age. And that's another thing that I read about being depressed while pregnant. If you are depressed while you're pregnant, your child has a more likely chance of growing up and becoming depressed. And you don't want that. So, yeah, I come up with this series of dealing with being pregnant after 35. So, honestly, if you see me wearing this shirt in the upcoming videos, it's because I actually filmed everything together as I got it off my head, got it off my chest. So it's not like I'm wearing this shirt over and over again. I filmed it all in the same day. So yeah, like I was saying, if this affects you, comment below. If you know of anybody that might need help, if you see somebody and you know they're not regularly, like if you see that their behavior changed, talk to them. Don't push too much, but engage them. Ask them questions, because you could be saving not only their life but their unborn child's life. Ask questions. If you know your best friend, your mama, your sister is not acting quite right, engage them. You don't know what they might need, that open door to just say, okay, this is what's going on with me. They might be looking for that, because honestly, I was looking for that, but I didn't know I was looking for that. But until I went to the hospital, that's when I knew I needed it. I needed it so bad. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask a person, how are you doing? Are you really fine? Yeah. And so if you, like I said, if you've gone through this or have gone through this, feel free to share, to encourage somebody. It's not that trouble don't last always. It doesn't. Just like you're going through this storm, every storm has to pass. No matter how big, how horrible it is, it still has to pass. And there will be some rebuilding that has to take place afterward. There will be, whether mentally, physically, whatever. But once you rebuild, once you get back to that rebuilding process, once you get back to, you'll be better than you were before, because you'll be stronger, because you overcame this. And now you know how to continuously overcome it. So I just want to encourage you. If you are depressed and you are pregnant, please get help. Talk to somebody. Somebody does understand. And I pray that you all will find joy in your tomorrow. I will talk to you later. God bless.